Hey everyone, Dan here. We are just after market close on Wednesday, June 2nd. We're going to do that Wednesday thing of taking a look at SoFi, formerly IPOE. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps a lot. And let's jump right in. So the reason that, I've spent several weeks covering IPOE, now SoFi, is because, several weeks ago, we identified several factors that really I thought could play a strong role in setting up a potential short squeeze, and the ramifications of that being pretty significant because of the stats and data that we found. We've seen a lot of this come to play over the past few weeks. If we take a look at, I don't know, the hour, you see this, consolidation back here ended on 528, so just a few days ago. And, there was a big run up, and we were calling this out even before then. So we caught a bunch of this run up as well, in sort of like anticipation of not only the merger with SoFi, which helped fuel the potential for a squeeze, but also just the short squeeze data itself. Now that the merger has happened, some things are definitely clarifying as far as what the picture looks like. So first we'll take a look at the chart, and then we'll flip over to the data, and I'll sort of show you what I think happened today. Be one of those rare times where I will say I think I have a really clear understanding what happened today, why we saw this essentially flattening out of the day's gains and losing a bunch of steam there. And so let's get into it. So as you see, we opened up and we're already up pre-markets. Typical comes down, bounces up, bounced right off of our bounce zone. Interestingly enough, did some testing of support and resistance at 24, which we had charted, and then made an attempt at 25, which we had been looking for, and then started this decline. I'm sorry, I have a little bit of allergies going on today, so I can't do much about the slight coughs and such here and there. So just bear with me. It'll get better. I took some medicine, but it's not working yet. And then we are caught under this sort of downtrend line, and then we're able to stabilize right around this $23 level. The thing that almost makes playing SoFi at this point, at least, this won't last forever, but is the roundness to the numbers at which it sort of like displays typical support and resistance. So right here, 23, right here, 24, right here, 25. So it makes it easy to remember, but the thing that'll break that is this like mid 23 level. Obviously there's a ton of potential because of the support and then resistance here. So I do think the next most important thing to be looking for, and this may happen overnight, it may happen in the pre-markets, would be developing support right about here on this purple level. I think that'll give us the best opportunity for a big jump up again tomorrow, and maybe another attempted catch of 25. It's been for a few days now trying to push up toward 25. It keeps getting rejected as it nears it, but I think that we could potentially look for that again tomorrow, but we're going to need that 23.61 support first, and then that'll give us potentially a bunch of upside to look for. Now, I'm heartened by how strongly this held here, and I'm heartened by the big buys going into close. So that doesn't necessarily mean anything. But let me tell you what I think happened here, and I'm sure that some of this was people taking profits, trimming positions, locking in what they could. I understand that. But there's very clear indications of what happened here. So this box, this shows you the 11 a.m. to 11:15 a.m. time frame this morning. And so look what happens. That's right as we are getting close to this $25 peak, and I have no doubts that the smarter shorts out there know that the attempts of $25 for SoFi have been very, very challenging, and including stretching back to IPOE. Okay, and so with this big big run up. I think they were probably seeing the approach of 25 as being instrumental, as well as the likelihood that folks would start locking in profits and do some selling themselves. So what happened then was at right around that time, let's scroll down here, 11 o'clock, a fee of 261.1% to borrow shares. 3.4 million shares available to borrow. What happens the next reporting timestamp? 15 minutes later, within that 15-minute window, nearly 3 million shares were lent out to be short sold. A huge increase in the number. Okay, so that is, to me, exactly what happened here. This is that time frame, and just see what happened after that. Big push down. Attempt back up because there was momentum, there was hype. There was folks looking for a dip to buy into, and that was the first time that they really got one. And then, continuing to pour 3 million additional shares sold short into the market definitely brought it down to this $23 level. But the fact that they could pour that much firepower into it, nearly exhaust the available shares, right? It's only 650,000 left. It's a fraction of what was poured into the market today. We were able to stabilize here, and we're able to gain additional traction going into close, and so far, holding up relatively well in the after hours. So it'll be telling to see what this after hours and pre-market looks like, as we've been going gangbusters recently. So not only that 2361 is a super important level, and not only like 25 itself being an important level, but to me, the next most important thing is to get support at 2480, because to the extent that they consumed these shares in this window, they may have borrowed them up as high as about close to 25. If we can get support here, then we have a clear path to pushing over 25 and establishing 25 as support. And when that happens, all of these 3 million or so lent shares that went to that short seller at a very high borrow rate, they're going to be incurring that fee, and they're now going to be upside down in their position, and they are be staring down the barrel of having to buy back more expensive shares than the ones that they were lent. So a double whammy. Huge fee, having to buy back larger share price, and just kind of like losing their pants. Okay, so that's what I think is the most important thing to see. Can that play out this week? It would take a lot of buying pressure, that's for sure, and it's going to take some sort of like reemergence of the hype. Maybe some of this short squeeze reality will kind of come across more folks' radar, and they will not only be excited for SoFi, but they will be excited that there's real potential for a big short squeeze here, and that we have potentially a pretty clear indication of how to make that short squeeze happen. And so if that's the case, so we can get a 10% push up here, that would put us mid 25s. I'm talking about by the end of the week. So 2 days, 10% gain. So 5% a day, not that insane for the situation that SoFi is currently in. And if we can get there, I think, and that'll align pretty well with the days to cover. Wouldn't be crazy for folks to want to be covering in about 3 days with the fee being so high. So that's what I'm going to be looking for as the week goes on. These are the most important things at the moment, I think. I would keep an eye on how many shares are available. I would, of course, keep an eye on the fee. Let's actually refresh this and get the most up-to-date. Oh, that is the most up-to-date. That was 4 o'clock. Okay, 4:15? They're continuing to give updates, so that's fine. But the fee is staying steady. It did have this huge drop-off here, but, that's okay. But no more shares came out, but this was a huge taking of borrowed shares to flood the market with, right as it started to drop today. Now, I don't know if there's refresh data here. No, not yet. So we don't have today the short volume ratio in here yet. But yesterday, 23.91, very, very high, or on the higher end, we'll say, of what I would have expected to see. And so this again just says to me, yes, there's more shares that became available in total, and so that gave the opportunity for borrowed share availability to boost. It didn't get touched as much yesterday, so I think that this number, 23.91, I think when we get the number from today, I think it'll actually be much, much higher than 23.91. So I'm interested to see, 23.91 is still a high level. So if we see something today come through in the 30s or even more, that to me would just sort of scream there's a bunch of squeeze to be squoze here. So to me, the juiciness of this play is continuing to build. I don't think that there's a ton that's been lost in terms of potential for an enormous short squeeze, and I think this factor coming in today, the 3 million additional shares or so, give or take, being sold short and driving the price down here, but stabilizing, staying green for the day, and showing some strength into close. There's a real opportunity here to double down, let folks know what's going on with SoFi, let folks know that there's a real opportunity here, and there could potentially be a clear path to triggering some of these things. 2361 support to make our way to 2480 support, which should get us well into the 25s. And then all of these 3 million or so shorts will be underwater, incurring big fees. And how long are they going to put up with that? I don't know. But if the market was suddenly flooded with about 3 million buys, that would be pretty significant. All right. I think that'll do it for today. I hope that makes sense. I hope, sort of might shed some light on what we saw today and why. I just wanted to flip over here to see there's about 14.5 million volume today. So that, talk about a 20% of the entire volume coming back in buying pressure if those shorts are going to close, by the end of this week or even early next week. So I'm digesting it as we go along. I think it's really interesting. I added an additional position in SoFi today after locking in some profits that I talked about yesterday. And so this continues to get interesting to me. This feels like one that I've generally had my finger on the pulse of. And I don't want to get too cocky because I know that will then just result in missteps and overextension and a quick decline. But so far, I feel like we've had a good sense of what's been going on. So this is my next big thing, those yellow zones, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think we need to keep the volume up. We need to keep the interest high, and hope that there's some additional hype that comes in. Hope that this short squeeze tail in and of itself gets some additional airtime in whatever way, shape, or form that could take. So to that end, folks could share this video, Reddit, Twitter, Facebook, what have you. That might help expose some additional folks to the potential play as I see it here. But as always, do your own due diligence, figure out for yourself what your risk to reward tolerance feels like, and if you even think that the data says what I think it says. I could be wrong. Okay, well that'll do it for this one. I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next video.